Hey everybody, wanted to create this video for you in case you're looking to work with a virtual assistant or any of your teams remotely. This starter kit can really help you get things going. If you want a copy of the presentation, just DM me VASK, V-A-S-K, Virtual Assistant Starter Kit, and I'll make sure I send you out a PDF version of the presentation. But this isn't overly complex. There is the kind of the bare bones in this presentation for your starter kit. To get more in depth or to work with you personally or anything that you need more specifically, reach out to me. I can show you how we can do that as well. So real quick introduction. So, how do I work with my assistant in a way that is asynchronous? And by asynchronous, what I mean is not live. So often we feel like we have to have live daily stand-ups or live weekly stand-ups, and you really don't need to do that. My best virtual assistant is located in the Philippines, which is creating a 12-hour difference between when she is up and rocking and rolling and when I am up rocking and rolling. And yeah, at times we work at the same specific time, but a lot of times that's not the case. So having a tool set that includes asynchronous is really important. If you're working with someone on your team, many times we don't want them to bombard us with questions and only get the answers if they're talking with us live. So how do we put together a tool set that allows them to get those questions answered but not have to interrupt us or we interrupt them? And so this is all meant to help you get those building blocks, that starter kit going, so that you don't run into those specific issues. So here are the tools that you're going to need with your remote team or your virtual assistant. The first is you're going to need a project or task capturing system. This can be a Google Sheet. This can be an Excel spreadsheet. It can be your CRM like a HubSpot or a Salesforce. Whatever, we just need to make certain there is one place where we document everything that is coming in that needs to get addressed by either you or your virtual assistant. And so I call that a project task capturing system, but it's in this first bucket here called tasks. So you need to make certain that's defined, and there's only one task capturing app that you're using. It can't just be everything. And you notice I'm not telling you to use your email inbox or Slack, right? It needs to be something that is fairly well documented and that you're leveraging to document this needs to get done. Now, that isn't saying that you're not going to use some of those other tools for these other things that I'm going to talk to you about. So you need one place for your team to be able to text, and one place to ask questions using audio, and one place for video. This is really kind of setting up the asynchronous communication structure or definition for your team. So for me, texting, I use a thing called Voxer. I also use Voxer for audio. You can use Slack for text. You can also use Slack for audio and in video. But at the end of the day, you've documented how you're going to accept communication asynchronously. It should also be mentioned that the text, the audio, and the video is for clarification only. We're still going to use our task application for when we need something done, but we're using text, audio, and video when we want to ask a question or our virtual assistant needs us to clarify something and we don't want to just type it out. We want to either ask the question or we want to show a video like I'm doing right now. We want to show what we're talking about. We don't just want to talk it through. So you give them three specific asynchronous communication tools, one project task capturing system. Hopefully that makes sense. And that's really all you need to get going. Now, how do you delegate tasks? Because a lot of times when I talk to people, they think they just have a task that they need to get done and they tell someone to go do it. But many times, especially when you're first getting started with your assistant, there needs to be some levels of delegation that you walk them through in order for them to understand what level of involvement you want to have in each of the tasks based on where you are in defining the task for your assistant or where your assistant is in their ability to get things done. So It's really broken down into 3 specific areas. You have manage, lead, and empower. So what do all these mean? So manage basically means, hey, I'm going to give you something to do. And any time that you come to a point where you have to ask a question or make a decision on how to get that particular thing done, you're going to come to me, we're going to talk through it, and I'm going to tell you what to do. So you're going to manage the tasks from start to finish, and your assistant knows that if they have a decision to make, that you're the person who's going to make that decision for them. Now, obviously, we don't want to keep someone at this stage for very long. We want to move them up to the next stage, which is lead. And lead gives you the ability to start to take a look and see if your assistant has some of the basic decision-making skills that you need them to do in order for them to eventually get completely independent of executing tasks. And here, what I want you to be able to do is every time they run into that crossroads, you want to see the decision-making process that they go through. So you're going to do something I call a 1-3-1. If you're interested in this, I can actually show you this in another video. But basically, you want to say, hey, when you come to that crossroads, that one problem or one decision you need to make, I want to know 3 possible things that you could do to solve that problem, and then the one that you feel is the best. And from there, I'm going to let you know whether or not that's good and whether or not to move forward or not. And so that's lead, where you're helping leading them through the decision-making process, but they're coming to you with the ideas on how to actually get something done and what their best outcome is. This is so important. It helps your virtual assistant recognize when they're making great decisions. It allows you to coach them when they're not maybe making the decisions exactly the way you want them to make it. But over time, you're going to be able to move your VA into that position of executing tasks where they feel empowered, or where you let them know they're empowered. And by that, you're now saying, hey, I'm going to give you a task to do, and you're going to go execute it in the best way that you feel to get that task completed. And no matter what the outcome, this is so important, you let your assistant know you've got their back no matter what. Any decision they make, because I've gone through these levels, I've got your back, because I know you really make great decisions. Not that you may make them right every time, but for this particular task, you've got my support no matter what the outcome looks like. And so, again, those are the 3 levels of delegation that you're going to want to include in your activity tracker, or in that task tool that we talked about in the beginning. What does that activity board look like, or that task tool look like? Here is a really simple, well-defined activity board. Very, very simple. This particular example is free, right? And so you really want to have these specific columns in your activity board, no matter what you use. My example here is in a Google Sheet. So each of the columns is going to be the task or the goal, the person who's responsible. So if you have a team, all their names are going to be in the drop-down menu. So you're going to choose the person who is actually going to execute the task. It's also important to know that only one person can own a task. There may be a couple of people working on it, but you have one quarterback, one person who's ultimately responsible to get it done. The due date. When do you expect this task to be completed? And then you're going to have a status. And so the status starts out that it's not started. When someone starts working on it, they're going to have a working on it status. They're going to have a stuck status. So if they get stuck and they don't know what to do, they can put it in the status of stuck, so that you know you can help them. And then done. And that's it. That's the statuses that you're going to be putting in your activity board. You can also include, although I didn't include it as a have to in blue here, but on the activity board you can also have the date that it's completed, just to see if the due date and the completed date is the same. Over time, what I've found with my team is completed was not a column that we used a lot, so it's not required. Then you have level, which is what is the level of delegation that I'm giving this person a task to actually go do. So are they at manage, are they at lead, or are they fully empowered? And then the last 2, Whether you include a video instruction on how to get the task done, you can include that link here, or any files that someone would need to execute that particular task. For instance, we use a marketing calendar here at Brave Cave, and so anytime someone is executing something in regards to our marketing calendar, we put the file link to the marketing calendar so that they can see what they need to get done. There's plenty of other ways that you'd be leveraging files and folders and different things like that. You put it in your task so that the person executing doesn't have to go out and look for it. This is a very, very basic starter kit to working with your VA. I can actually help you in a variety of different ways for your specific use case or need, so please feel free to get in touch with me anytime. This is how you can get a hold of me. You can also use Voxer, V-O-X-E-R, and look me up under Weibel, or you'll see all of the other ways to get a hold of me at the website. You can email me, or always feel free to reach out to me via cell phone. Hopefully you find this as a good first step into your virtual assistant. There's going to be plenty of things that you're going to most likely have questions on, but I am here to help you any way I can. But I hope that this was a good kickstart for you to get going and get started with your VA. Talk to you soon.